Hi, guys. Welcome to this week's Soul Sanctuary podcast. I'm here with Miss Ocean. My name is Emmie Nikolina, and this is Ocean Lover. And we're going to be talking about some pretty intense stuff. Let me just get a few things up on the screen. If you would like to interact with us during this podcast in the comments, you're going to have to please go ahead and subscribe to this channel. We have that restricted. It only takes maybe 5 minutes after you subscribe before you can comment. In addition, if you would like to be part of our exclusive chat after this podcast, simply go to the soulsanctuary.love. The links are kind of scrolling at the bottom of the screen. We do have a ministry that the two of us, along with Lindsay, we do a lot of different things behind the scenes. If you'd like to know more about the projects we have going on, simply go to soulworksynergistics.com/projects and you'll be able to see that. In addition, we do have a bake sale going on. We're making artesian breads. We have two right now that are listed on the website, the jalapeno popper, and then we also have wintry apple. Oh my gosh, it's girl. I made some for you. How'd you like it?
Oh my gosh, let me tell you something. Don't get the camera to acting crazy and the Wi-Fi to go out. That bread is so delicious. I loved it. And I'm going to tell you something about me. I'm not like you, okay? When it comes to this. If something says gluten-free, I'm like, yeah, no. That bread is so delicious and it's gluten-free. Like people who don't usually like gluten-free bread, I'm telling you, if you try that bread, you're going to love it. You're going to love it.
Yeah, you can't tell it's gluten free. You
Can't
can't tell
tell.
that it's super healthy for you.
Mhm.
That
Mhm.
it's very very nourishing. You just you taste the love. That's what my kids always say when I make them bread. I always thought that they just love me and they say that to make me feel good, and I guess not. I guess it's
Mhm.
you really can taste the
You
love.
can taste it. You can taste it. You can feel it.
Thank you for that.
Mhm.
So today we're going to be talking about the new children. Whoo! Already, I'm feeling. I'm feeling a little something, something. The new children is a subject that is just so very near and dear to my heart. And it's very near and dear to my heart because I am a mother of children and not just any children, but new children, right? This is something that I have struggled with, things that I have really, really felt so deeply to my heart. This is a subject that is just so near and dear to me. Um, let's start with, what do you think new children are? What's your concept, guys? If you could put in the comments what you believe new children are, we'd love to hear from you.
Yes. I think that's a great place to start. And Emmy and fam, I want to share also that this is also a subject that's very near and dear to my heart. I am also the parent of new children, two of them. And I'm going to tell you, in my personal as well as professional experiences, I've seen a lot. And so I'm going to be honest, fam, this is a subject that I didn't necessarily want to personally do, but I know it's one that's so important. It's so important.
It really is,
Yeah.
because these are the people who will be taking over after we are no longer able to lead.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
such a important type of conversation we're about to have. Ooh, yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm loving these comments. High frequency children, they're higher in frequency. This next comment, absolute banger.
Mm.
We are the new children.
Mm.
Yes, we are. So there's been several waves of new children that have been born. Um, they began coming in, and some of this information is covered by the work of Dolores Cannon. Amazing, amazing professional in her field. She created the QHHT hypnotherapy method. I don't know too much about QHHT. Um, But these are things you guys can look up on your own if you are interested. Okay. So Dolores Cannon, she has this body of work, and she began doing hypnotherapy, and she kind of stumbled into this field, um, really without intending to. She saw some different patterns in her clients, and um, she began to really document it and share some of the work that she did, of course, with permission from her clients. So in her work, she talks about how there are three waves of different types of souls that came. Um, the first one, from my experience and other reading, I found that they began incarnating in like the 1920s, 1930s, just a few here, a few there. And then they began to come in larger numbers between about the 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s. So some of the last ones that came for this first wave came in the early 80s. Okay. This first wave is called the Indigo Children. Now, quite a few of us are Indigo Children. They have so many different character traits that kind of make it clear that they're indigo. They have a tendency to be like peacemakers, system busters. They have a tendency to want to fight against injustice and just so many different things like that. You guys can look up all of these different character traits. Then came the Crystal Children. Crystal Children started coming in larger numbers around the 90s all the way to the early 2000s. And these crystal children, the reason they're called crystal is because when, and also with the indigo, when psychics, mediums, people with the ability to see were looking at the indigo children's auras, they typically would have a predominantly indigo blue color, right? So then the crystal children came, is the second wave, probably around the early 90s all the way through to the early 2000s. And the crystal children, their frequency was much higher than the indigo. They seem much more peaceful, so much more sensitive. From the crystal children on up, because there's a couple of other waves that came after the crystal children. These are children and young adults who tend to be drawn to nature. They tend to be very, very drawn to animals. They tend to be very sensitive to the things they watch, the things they read, the things they experience. They have a tendency to like rocks and sticks. I mean, oh gosh, how many times have we heard the craziest sounds coming from a washing machine or dryer because someone didn't remove all their rocks from their pockets, right? Most families will step on Legos. I step on crystals, crystals and sticks. And so that's kind of some of the things you'll experience with crystal children. After the crystal children came the rainbow children. The rainbow children had maybe, I want to say about 10 years. So maybe around from 2005 till about 2015-ish, 2014, 2015-ish. It was primarily rainbow children being born. Rainbow children, their aura looks like a rainbow. They're encompassing all of the different fractals of light, right? So if you take white light and you bend it through a prism, you'll see all the different colors that kind of are bent out of that white light. The rainbow children have all of those, right? They have all the colors. They can tap into all the different rays of creation. After the rainbow children, around 20, the earliest ones that I came across were around 2012. And with that, they went ahead and began incarnating in larger numbers around 2015-ish, all the way till about 2018. So if you guys notice that the amount of time that these waves of souls are coming in, it's getting shorter and shorter and shorter, right? So after the rainbow children, around 2017, 2018, diamond ray children began incarnating. These are extremely high frequency children. You can take one look at them and know, like, this kid is looking straight through my soul. Even if it's a baby, like, you can tell this baby is just absolutely paying attention, is so much more aware than what I could possibly understand. And they have this way about them, this energy. They're very, very, their energy is like very comforting, very nurturing. They're very, very, very loving, very loving. And after that, now all of these COVID babies, they call them COVID babies. I call them double diamond sun
Mm.
babies.
Wow.
Woo. Ugh.
Don't start me up.
Mm.
Steve.
All the potential. The potential to correct all the things our forefathers suffered through. And there's not much you could do to corrupt these children. It doesn't matter what wave they come from. There's not much you can do to corrupt them. And that's why a lot of these children um, were systemically poisoned through our food, through medications, through different programs that were forced, mandated to participate in. Um, our psychology is systemically poisoned, pathologies inserted instead of grasping or trying to grasp, trying to understand at the very basic level, understand how powerful the differences are and the potentialities for a more peaceful future. We're instead taught to believe in pathology, that we are broken, we are diseased, we are the problem, we're lazy. I know you guys have heard so many of this. Is it too late to change the topic?
It's not,
Uh,
but what does the fam think? What does the fam think? And as parents, as people who have worked in behavioral health, the school system, in whatever capacity, in whatever fields, have you all out there experienced some of the challenges that new children face? New children, their parents, and the people who love them. Sometimes it's not even the parents. Sometimes, Emmy, what I have seen is that some of these children don't even have anybody to stand in the gap for them in the home, in their immediate surroundings. Okay, I want to share something with you. We can definitely change the subject if you want to, but like I said, I have personal as well as professional or work experiences, and I never will forget this one particular. I was not working in behavioral health, and I had to remind myself like every day that I was not there for behavioral health. I had to remind myself. They knew I had a certain background and they would try it, but I also have a heart for the children. I will never forget. There's so many instances I'll never forget, so many situations, but two in particular really stick out to me. There are so many, but one is that I will never forget this child. This child was so sick, had nobody to pick him up. And I was able to go and talk with the child. And I said, sweetheart, is there anybody who can come? Is there anybody who? And the child didn't even look at me. You know what he told me? The child didn't even look up. He was so sick. He said, nobody's coming.
oh,
Broke my heart. It broke my heart because he was so desensitized. He knew it. And the thing about it is, everybody else knew it, right? I'm gonna tell you this other thing real quick as people are sharing. I never will forget this. Oh my gosh, she was so special. You talk about new children. I'm not exactly sure which wave, whatever. She was so special. This girl would not talk. She would not talk. She was in special ed. She wouldn't talk. They started sending her to me, like not for anything behavioral related. They just started sending her to me. And the girl never wanted to get off the bus. Like she would actually stay on the bus. The bus driver would have to put her back on, right? I mean, would have to take her back to the school. And it's like something's going on with that baby. Something's going on. Nobody stopped to say, what's going on with this child? In the little time, I started just talking to her, not just trying to get her, just talking to her. I gave her like a little paper. I just made this little booklet up for her. This girl could draw beautifully. Not only could she draw beautifully, this girl could write beautifully. And I came to find out not only could she write beautifully, she could express herself very well verbally. Nobody took the time to get to know her, to see who is this child. She was so special. So anyway, I'm going to stop there. Let's see what everybody is saying. And do you want to change the subject because we can, or do you understand this? It's not easy. It's hard. It's hard
Yeah.
as a parent. Some things you have seen and trying to advocate for your children. Some things I have seen and trying to advocate for my children. Some things I have seen that I never wanted to see for any child. I've seen, okay, personally and professionally. It's not an easy topic.
It really isn't. And it's this thing that goes beyond just the stereotypical um assumption of we're going to dive into this conversation of maltreatment of children. It also touches very, very deeply into the reality that most parents are not equipped to healthily parent this type of child. They're just not equipped unless you yourself are a new child and you experienced it.
Hmm.
We do. We very much need to hear this. We very much need to hear this because this is a subject where so many adults are suffering and struggling, trying to understand why they can't understand their child, why it's so hard, what are they doing wrong? And it's really this thing of we just don't know. When you are raising a child that is nothing like you, their potentiality far exceeds anything you could possibly tap into in this lifetime. How do you know what to do? How do you know if you're doing the right thing or the wrong thing? For me personally, my parenting style is very different than most people. I treat my children like equals with the very clear stance that we are equals, but legally, I am your guardian. I am your guide. I am legally responsible for you. And there are certain things that maybe we're not going to agree, but I'm going to need your compliance because that's just how it is. And until you're old enough to change the world to make it something else, then this is how we're going to have to function so that it doesn't create problems for us within society. And that's kind of how we function. And it's this thing of, people who have the opportunity, very rarely have the opportunity to meet my children. Some of their most like really intense comments will be this very passionate exclamation of, oh my God, your children are so well behaved. And I'm kind of just like, this, they're just being them. They're just, um, they're assessing the environment they're in. They're trying to be mindful of their energetic effect on the people in the environment. They're just trying to kind of make sure that everything is okay for them. That's not something that I taught them. They are very autonomous. The new children seek autonomy. And if you are very controlling, if you are very militant in your approach, they will find ways to rebel against you. It might not be in your face, but I swear, like yesterday, I was live streaming. And I guess one of my kids did not like the way I texted, the tone, the energy. I don't know. I copied and pasted. He must have like, mm. And he responded. He's one of my little ones. And he responds, "Yes, mother." How dare you call me mother? And so then came a barrage of my emojis of my mind blown, a teardrop, zen, He didn't respond. He's just like, mm-mm, we're not doing this via text. And it's this thing of like, we have to understand children, yes, are children, but they are autonomous beings. How do you think it feels if you come into this life with a level of consciousness that is far beyond anything human? And then you're stuck in a body that you can barely control, dealing with people you are much more advanced than, and having them tell you what to do.
Yep.
That's not going to end well. That's not going to end well. And it's this thing of like, people will call them defiant. I've never had a child defy me. I've never. From babysitting to my children, I have a lot of kids. I've never had a child defy me. There's a few times where I've had to talk to someone else's child. Maybe I'm babysitting, maybe we're out in public. But children know from my energy, if you're out of line, I will match your energy. I will not be ashamed of who's around. I will match your energy. And I remember one time one of my kids had they were considering having a tantrum in the store. Right. It wasn't my oldest. He tried it one time and I asked him, what's wrong? Why are you doing this? Like something hurt, something wrong. I took him right back to the car and he goes, well, I've seen other kids do it. I just wanted to see what it was about. I was like, are you serious? And he was like 3. I was like, are you serious? And he's like, I'm sorry, mommy. He was calm in the car. I was like,
Wow.
can we go back in the store? The moment you cry like that, act a fool in the store, I'm taking you out of the shopping cart. I don't care if it's full. We're going back in the car. We're going to have a discussion. If you need to sleep, if you're hungry, if you have a need, we're taking care of that. We'll go to the store later. So my kids typically don't have tantrums. And I remember one time we were in the store and I had a whole bunch of toddlers with me, right? Like literally shopping cart full of toddlers hanging on the sides, the front, one right here in the shop, tons of
Aw.
toddlers. And one of them was going to have a tantrum. And I stopped the cart and I looked at him. I was like, are you okay? And he's just like, "Eh." And I was like, okay, well, if you don't want to communicate, I'm not going to know what's wrong. But just know, I don't want you to act a fool by yourself. So I'll act a fool with you. We can be embarrassed together. I don't want you to feel singled out. So let me know, which way are we going with this? And he just looked at me and he considered, he goes, juice? Juice?
That's so funny.
And it was just a calm
You show
conversation.
out is where I show out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want you to feel embarrassed by yourself. Make it a group effort. I've always approached it as like, we do things together, baby boo. We do it together. You want to wild out, we wild out together, mother and child. And they never wild out. They
Yeah.
never,
Yeah. Hmm.
in the store, they never, if say one of them wants to leave already, we're taking too long, they'll quietly lean in like, Mom, are you almost done? Do you want to get going? I mean, if you're done, can I? Okay, let me finish. Are you feeling okay? And it's this thing of, we're taught by society that as a parent, you're the authoritarian,
Hmm.
right? You're the dictator. I'm whenever I hear the word dictator, I think of penis potato,
Um,
right? You're the penis potato. We make it into a joke. We make a lot of things into jokes in my family because then we can discuss things that are somewhat difficult in a humorous way, and it gives them the space to like keep their dignity intact and also process what I'm telling them, right?
that's beautiful.
But also at the same time, it's like my kids know that if you cross a line with me, and I will tell you, you're approaching that line. Okay, now you've crossed the line. I will be upset. I will have a normal, natural reaction. This is not about faking your emotions with children.
Mm.
It's really, really not. Because however aware you think they are that much more aware than you could ever possibly realize.
They are.
They
They are.
really, really are. So my brother has a niece. My brother has a daughter, and my niece, she's going to be turning 2 soon, and she's like ridiculously intelligent, right? Her parents know that she's super intelligent, and I look at her and I know we're having these telepathic
Mhm.
communications. And so when I try and FaceTime, which it's rare because of the way she reacts, as soon as her mom turns the phone to face her, she goes, "Stop." She'll go like that, she'll walk away. And her mom is always like, "What do you mean stop? Go talk to your godmother." Like, she's calling for you. And she goes, "Stop." And she keeps her
Oh.
hand out like that, "Stop." And I'm kind of just looking at her, and it's because I pick up from her, like, my auntie knows about too much.
Yeah.
I don't want her to tell my parents this or that.
Mhm.
And so I typically I won't say anything. I'll just be like, "It's okay, sis. We can
Yeah.
right now. Let me talk to one of the boys because the
That's
boys, they'll talk to me." But
yeah.
she's not scared of me. It's not that
Mhm.
she doesn't like me. She has an awareness of how where I am, of her level of awareness.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah.
So one time, very recently, I was texting with my brother, and because I was telling my sister-in-law, like, she's not like other children. You have to be on her side now, because if she sees you as someone she needs to rebel against, if she doesn't feel safe enough to just be completely her around you, you're not going to win that fight when she's a
Mhm.
teen.
Mhm.
You're just not. You're not going to win that fight. So be her best friend now and just guide her. Don't dictate, guide her.
Mhm.
Give her her options. She even till now, she's only 2. She's not even 2 actually. She's almost 2. Even now, like, she needs to know what her options are.
Mhm.
She needs to be the one to pick, and she needs to be made aware of her options
Mhm.
first. It's not her being difficult.
Right.
It's her expressing her autonomy.
Right.
And I was telling my sister-in-law these things, and basically explaining to her, like, she's not like other children. She has
Mhm.
gifts that you're going to help her to develop, but you have to first start with making her feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And my sister-in-law's like, what do you mean she's different? I told her she's like me.
Mhm.
And my sister-in-law is like, well, okay. It's like, I know I'm different. Do you know what I do for work? She goes, Not really."
Mhm. Yeah.
Because no one really, they don't really want to know, which is fine.
Mhm.
And I was telling her some of the things that I can do, that I do for work. And she's like, "She's different like you." And I was like, "Yes,
Mhm.
even right now, she's different like me, and she will become even more as she
Mhm.
gets older." So
Mhm.
then, of course, my brother is going to text me later on after they talk. He's like, "Hey, so what's up? What do you mean? Like, what's up with my baby?" I was like, "Nothing. She's fine. She's just different." He's like, "Well, like, what do you mean different?"
Mhm.
And I was kind of telling him, and he's like, "Yeah, no, sometimes it seems like she's more aware." And it kind of freaks him out because I guess like a few months before, he was in the living room with them and he started missing our mom. He didn't say anything, he didn't make any face. And she just
Oh.
immediately went up to him, hugged him, said, "It's going to be okay." And
Oh.
he was like, "What does she know?" And I told him, "She can read your mind."
Mhm.
He's like, "No, she can't." I said, "Yes, she can. Why do you think she went up to you?"
Mhm.
And then he remembered the day before, because she's in the middle of sleep training at this point, right? Uh, a couple days before, she was in her crib in her room and she was crying. And then he said that it sounded like she was talking to someone in the room as he was walking to her. And I was like, "She's talking to you." And he
Mhm.
goes, "But I didn't say anything." I'm like, "Exactly. She's telepathic.
Mhm.
She heard you say, 'I better check on baby girl and see, I
Oh.
better get her.'" And yeah. And she's like, "Yes, now." And he's like, "Who are you talking to?" I'm like, "She's talking to you." She
Oh.
told you, like, "Yes, get me now. I don't want to be here."
Oh.
And that's the thing. I remember now why I even started that conversation with my sister-in-law.
Mm.
My niece had been pulling my energy for quite a few days. I'm like, "Something's wrong. Is she getting sick? Like, what is this?" So I text my sister-in-law, like, "Hey, how is she doing? Is everything okay?" She's
Mhm.
like, "Yeah, she's just hanging out." And I was like, "Is she having bad dreams?" And she's like, "Well, she's been crying a little bit more, but I think it's because we're sleep training." And I was like, "Something's messing with her in her
Mhm.
room." And
Mhm.
she's like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "She can see things. I don't know if you know this. She can see more
Mhm.
than what you
Mhm.
can see.
Mhm.
And she sees things and they're scaring her
Mhm.
because she's being left alone in her room. They're scaring her.
Mhm.
So if she cries, you should let her just stay with you, at least for the next few days. Hold off the sleep training, let her stay with you, let her feel safe. She's more powerful than these beings, but because she doesn't know how to control
Yeah.
her body yet,
Mm-hmm.
um, they're taking advantage of that. And she's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my gosh, and that's how the conversation started. So a lot of the new children today, they experience these things that they don't have the ability and life experience
Yeah.
to explain, to
Yeah.
quantify.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes very difficult. Like, if you don't sleep well for a week, how is your attitude?
Oh my goodness. Not a good thing.
Right. And if children are not able to quantify that, okay, my irritation comes from me being exhausted, that's why I'm not really listening. How many parents pause to be like, what is going on with my child?
That's true. That's true. And I'm glad you said that, especially not sleeping well. And these types of children, they could be astral. They could be astral and having all types of experiences. And then, especially if they talk to a parent who's not familiar with those things, that can be hard. Then it becomes a matter of pathologizing, you know,
Yes.
the child's experiences.
Yes. A lot of what's going on right now with the new children, the older new children, those in their tweens, their teens, early 20s, even in their 30s, there's been a lot of programs that have been run for quite a few years now. And these programs involve endocrine disruption
Mm,
that will cause a hailstorm of all sorts of different struggles, health wise, psychology wise, your reproductive organs, like everything, right? Your hormone production, literally everything. And what's happened is, I can't really talk about it on this live stream. Can you remind me to talk about it in the exclusive chat?
I sure can if I write it down.
So we'll dive deeper into this in the exclusive chat, but there's been a lot of things that have been done to go ahead and disrupt the normal progression and development of the sense of self,
Mhm,
and that's initiated rather early so that you don't reach your maximum potential,
mhm.
so that you isolate yourself, so that you don't learn healthy coping mechanisms, so that you do a lot of the self attacking, um, self abasement, self abnegation, all of these different really, really toxic things, right? And this is done because the new children have a very heightened capacity for manifestation. If you get one of the new children to think about, fixate on certain types of behaviors, thoughts, these different patterns, they can manifest this as disease in their body,
Yeah.
as a disease pathology in their psychology, right? And so that's what's been going on, a lot of that. What the new children actually need is a proper diet, one that is rooted in their frequency needs. Okay. They also need someone who can properly advocate for them. Most parents, again, we just don't know what to do. Most parents feel like they are at a loss. Most parents are struggling themselves with their mental health. They're struggling with the stress of, because most parents at this point are raising families as a single parent household. Most are, even if they're married. Oftentimes it's this thing of, it's like, it's a single parent household. One parent is usually gone, and there's not enough support, there's not enough understanding, there's not enough groups that can help you to feel very normal in your struggles, right? Because a lot of these new children, they have pretty much the same struggles, but they're not the same struggles as the average neurotypical child. And when you're comparing a new child with a neurotypical child, it's going to look like something is seriously wrong. A lot of the new children have issues with sensory integration. You can look up information on that. I think they changed the actual title to sensory integration disorder. or syndrome. I forget which one they're using now. But a lot of these new children have sensory integration issues. A lot of these new children are neurodivergent. A lot of these new children also have what's called an MTHFR multi gene mutation. A lot of them do. A lot. Very commonly, these new children, if they are in, if they're in environments that don't feel safe, it doesn't require physical violence to be present. Okay. Environments that don't feel safe, where they feel criticized, they don't feel heard, they feel very ignored, they don't feel seen, they're not validated, they're emotionally or mentally bullied. Um, these are children paired with the MTHFR gene mutation. They have a much higher likelihood of developing Asperger's or something on the autism spectrum. And that's a safety measure. I'm not speaking in terms of medical science. I'm speaking in terms of quantum kilontic science. Quantum kilontic science is what I specialize in. Okay. This is what I was born knowing because I'm one of those children. Oh, this, I love this. My daughter tells me so many things. I listen and we talk about it every time so she doesn't feel the same way I did. She
Oh,
knows her voice matters and that she's heard.
that's beautiful.
I love that.
It's important. That's beautiful.
It's very important. There, I'm going to show you. Hold on. Let me see if I can find. Um, I don't think I saved it.
Okay.
There was a video, I'll find it, but there was a video that I came across. There's two types of videos. One is the stereotypical parenting of a new child, and the other is the appropriate, healthy parenting of a new child. Um, I'll have to find it for a moment. But a lot of what I see is the stereotypical parenting, and that's hard for new children. It's very, very hard. I'm gonna here, let me just send it to the laptop and I'll be able to share it on screen. All right. So I showed you guys this video during a live stream yesterday, I believe it was. For those who didn't watch that live stream, here, let me just open these up. All right. So this is typical parenting that we see. Most people will do some version of this.
Give me the chips. We can't eat chips.
Yep. He's mad. He hates her. Look at his lip. Look at his lip.
Keeps a straight face.
That's not a straight face. Look at his lip.
If I could face.
Look. Like, You want to call me a bad boy? There, I'll be a bad boy. That's what he's thinking. Okay. Like, what you're going to do. Right. Now, that's typical parenting. Let me show you guys. This is, a healthier way to parent the new children. I mean, varying degrees of both. Let's see.
Hey, Mom. I really need a vent and I don't want advice. I don't need to see. I really need a no judgment session with ASAP. Oh my God.
Okay, I have to turn off the music. They're not sharing what she's saying, but she's just listening to her daughter.
Okay.
She's just listening to her daughter, and they have their faces covered so that her daughter can't see her natural facial expressions as reactions to the things that are being shared. And it creates a space. And I don't know that you guys need to do something like this, but the stark difference between the two. where not only is the daughter heard, but she doesn't feel judged,
That's good.
right? She doesn't feel judged by her mom. She feels like her mom is a safe space for her, and she's able to come to her mother and just, you know, um feel safe, process life.
That's
You know,
good.
it's hard. It's hard because how many of us have parents like that? I know I didn't, you know. Most of us don't have that luxury. That's a luxury right now. But here's the reality, that's a necessity.
Mm.
For new children, that's absolutely a necessity.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know if you have to go as far as holding a pillow up, you know. Um, my adult son will come to us and he'll talk to us. If he doesn't feel comfortable telling me, he'll tell his dad, and they're like best friends. He'll come to me and tell me a lot of things, and it's like, well, you know, this is my opinion, but it's just my opinion. That's it. You know,
Mhm.
do you want my opinion? Or I just listen, or I will make comments that will like, have you considered this aspect of it? Yeah, but I don't know which one is appropriate, which one's
Mhm.
more accurate, but I'm just saying there's this other aspect of it that maybe you need to consider, you
Mhm.
know? And that's the thing, that's what creates more of a sense of being heard, being valued, knowing you can depend on people, you know, feeling safe within yourself.
Mhm.
Another thing that I hear very often, because again, all of my children are new children,
Mhm.
one of the other things that I hear very often for people who have gotten a chance to spend a lot of time with my kids is they all kind of just know who they are,
Mhm. That's good.
and that's who they're going to be,
Mhm.
you know, and they have an understanding that they are allowed to be who they are. Sometimes, though, they have to modify it a little bit based on the appropriateness of that characteristic in the environment that we're in,
Mm.
right?
I'm glad you said environment. Speaking of parents, I had loving parents, but it also says something when a lot of who you are as a person, like just the way I was born as a new child, I have to kind of keep under wraps around the people that I love the most because I know it's like weird to them and freaks them out. Adults used to get freaked out so much by certain things, you know. There's still a lot of things to this day I don't necessarily share with those who I love and was raised with, you know. And you know, you have religious factors and all of that stuff too, but this is who I am. This is how I've always been, you know. But I'm glad you said that too, Emmy, because I want to kind of clarify first of all, what you're speaking of essentially is new child support, right?
Yes.
Okay, because that's listed on the site. And it's something because I'm listening and it's like it's such great information. But how many of you all knew that this is what new child support is all about? This is new child support. And you also mentioned environments. And I want to ask you about this, kind of maybe throw a monkey wrench into some things, whatever, because I think that there are certain challenges that are sometimes unique to especially underserved communities,
Mhm.
right? So you have a lot of new children, a lot of gifted new children. You have people that a lot of times don't have the capacity to understand or to really raise them. You have navigating gang culture, right? You
Mm.
have the aspect of trying to protect them from certain things, predatory people. Like some may even be related to them. I mean, this is not pretty stuff, but it's the reality. Okay, it's the reality. And then you have even the situation where a lot of these children are not being raised by their parents. They're being raised by their grandparents and then sometimes their great grandparents. They don't have the energy. They have all types of things. They're navigating more sophisticated ways of getting to children online. You have the whole gang bullying, what is it? Gang stalking. All this stuff comes into school. And these are still new children we're talking about. They may not know they're new children. The people around them may not know they're new children, but they are new children just the same. And they have that potentiality just the same. What do you say in these instances might be, because that can kind of change the dynamics of what is appropriate? Because you may be trying to be concerned with what is going to protect this child immediately and what's going to help this child to self-realize, right?
Mm.
And at
Mhm.
some point, you have to make a choice between what I'm going to try to support first. What do you, I think the SEI is perfect for this, but what would you say about these circumstances? How
They're
would
so
you?
much more common than we
Mhm.
realize. Like they're literally so common. You
Mm.
guys, I want you to understand every family hides something.
Yep.
Some families are better at hiding what they believe to be ugly and undesirable in other people's eyes than other families.
Mm.
Please do not compare what you went through to what someone else went through, because I
Mhm.
promise you, it's the same thing.
Mm.
Okay. It's the same pain. These are pains that are part of human development.
Mm.
If you look at the work done by Dr. Dabrowski specialized in positive disintegration. It's this work that he does where he looks at all the different um, traumas and the effects of trauma and the struggles and how it helps a person to develop into their true potential. There's various levels, and it's a very fascinating, very, very fascinating work that he did. And it's called The Theory of Positive Disintegration. And it's what we go through as humans. It's a natural part of your ascension cycle. It's a natural part of you finding your place within social structures, social hierarchies, within corporate hierarchies, within friendships, within family units. There are hierarchies to everything within the
Mhm.
human existence and human experience. And it's this thing of, we are taught by society that our life needs to be a specific way with a specific childhood, a specific young adulthood, or else you're damaged, you're flawed, and your parents are horrible, they didn't love you, and all of this different stuff. And it's like, that's not true. That's not true. The expectations that many of us have of our parents is such an unfair, unrealistic expectation. They are
Mm.
regular people,
Yeah.
regular people who are doing what they can with what they know, not trying to make excuses, just trying to
Right.
help you understand
Hmm.
why you don't need to take it personal anymore. Someone had asked, up to what age are the new children? Ben is a new child. He says he was born in 66.
Wow.
Right, Ben? There's Ben right there. Most parents do not even know who they are. They
Hmm.
don't.
Yeah, it's
My
true.
mom, my mom was born in 1949 and she was a new child.
Mm.
She was a new child. Um, she liked to play normal quite a bit. My mom's actually a savant. She
Mm.
could learn at extremely fast, very elevated, pronounced, profound ways. I did not know that because she played not knowing and being helpless my whole life so well. I had no idea until my aunt finally busted her out near the end of my mom's life. My aunt busted her out. She was like, "See, that's what you get. You've been playing stupid your whole life. We all know you're smart. You, the only one you're tricking is your kids." I was like, "Oh, why would you say that?" And then she turns to me and starts telling me like, "Your mom did this, 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 and this." And I was like, "Oh, she's been playing me this whole time."
Wow.
Yeah, no. And one of the things years ago when she was hospitalized, my brother got freaked out because he was the one that was living with her. And he met up with me as I was headed to the hospital. He pulls me aside and he's like, "Hey, we need to get mom's affairs in order." And I was like, "What happened?" And he's like, "I think she has dementia."
Mm.
And I was like, "She does not have dementia. Why would you say that?" And he said that she was talking crazy. And so I kept pushing, like, what did she say? Right. Well, he was at home, she was in the hospital, and when he came, she said to him that she's mad at him because he plays his TV too loud and it kept her up all night. And he
Mm.
was trying to tell her, "Mom, you're in the hospital. I wasn't here last night." And then she completely bypassed him, just like ignored that. And she said, "You need to take medicine for that cough. Your TV was so loud, you were coughing all night." And that's what scared him because
Mm.
he was coughing real loud all
Mhm.
night and he
And
had his
it
TV on.
was
I was like, "Well, because she could hear it." He
mhm.
goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Obviously, our mom's not normal. She
Right,
doesn't have dementia.
right.
She's telepathic. She was listening in what you were doing at home." I go,
Yes.
"She can't do that. You're talking crazy." And I was like, "No, you just don't want to believe it. But
Mhm.
mom is not a regular person,
Mhm.
you know?" And that's the thing. Um, these new children, most of us are now adults.
Mhm.
We're still considered new children, though. We're a different type of consciousness that's coming in. It doesn't necessarily make us better, it
Mhm.
just makes us more able to cooperate with the changes that are going to be implemented, that have already begun being implemented. It's hard when you don't know what's wrong with you and you have to play normal, and then you
Mm.
have to pretend everything is fine in front of family even, 'cause I
Yeah.
had to do that a lot too,
Mm.
where it's like, I can't tell my family that I'm seeing demons at night,
Mm.
because that's just not gonna go over well,
Mhm.
and you know that. It's not
Mhm.
that they don't love you,
Right.
it's that, you're probably gonna get medicated, you're probably gonna be hospitalized, exorcism.
Mentally, yeah, the what is it? The oil?
Oh, yeah. Yep, girl, girl, don't start me on that. There is nothing that compares to waking up to my sibling with a literally a Coke bottle, a literal Coke bottle full of water, and
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh my god, it's 2 in the morning."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Can
it's
I share this too?
uh
Because you talked about your mom, and it's something because I believe that my parents are new children who never knew that they were new children, right?
yeah,
And how many might also be in the same way? They don't know they're new children, they have new children, and they think they're new children kind of crazy.
yeah. Because they were taught that you have to exist in a specific way, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And then if you look at what the children are being taught now, what we were taught and what true children now are being taught, like chronological children are being taught, it's so different from what we're being taught. And there's just this continuous de-evolution, just
Hmm.
down, 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 this degrading type
Hmm.
of program that's put into play consistently.
Yes.
That's very hard. The new children, us as adults, and the younger ones, all they want is to fit in because they
Yeah.
are so painfully aware of how different they are.
Yeah. And I think sometimes the parents do try to raise them in a way that they won't feel so weird or awkward and they won't feel just singled out in society because they know how that feels and they felt like that. But what happens is, as parents, sometimes we end up making things worse for the children, making them feel like they can't be who they are, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that as I was, a first time parent, because my oldest son, he's an adult now, and he was the only child for quite a few years. And I was so fixated on raising him properly that my expectations became the very limitations that he began to
Mm.
believe in. And so it's this thing of even very well intentioned, very aware parents.
Hmm.
uh,
Even here, yep. Hmm.
yeah, but here's the beautiful thing.
Hmm.
um, we choose our parents
Yeah.
because of their
Hmm.
potential to provide you the experiences that you need, both good and bad,
Hmm.
both good and bad, you know?
Not always easy when you're going through it, but I believe that ultimately that is definitely what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, it's the experiences that we have with the people in our lives that really help us to shape ourselves. I
Hmm.
don't believe that people shape us. I believe that people give us the type of experiences, both shared and experiences separately, that help us to have the tools that we use to shape ourselves. That mindset of, I have to be grateful for the people who traumatized me because they made me who I am. No, they did not. They did not make me who I am. But
Right.
because of their malignant intentions and activities, it provided me the opportunity to choose myself and my growth and my healing. I
Hmm.
made me who I am.
Hmm. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. The hateration has helped to spark the elevation.
Yeah,
There is not their glory to take, like you said, it's not their glory to take. It's not they who shaped you, but those experiences matter.
they do. They are very important, but at the end of the day, it's what you do with those experiences
Mm-hmm.
that really create the potentiality for growth and healing. So
Mm-hmm.
going back to what we were talking about with the new children, and what do they need, what type of advocacy, um, what they really need is to feel accepted,
Mm.
whether you understand or not,
Yeah.
because that makes the world of difference. you know there's times where I don't understand what maybe my younger children are going through. They don't want to communicate it, and I will explain to them, I'm not frustrated that you are going through something. I'm frustrated that I'm not being allowed to understand how
Mm.
I can help. And
Mm.
even if I don't understand, if you communicate with me, I can at least comfort you.
Yeah.
I can know what you need from me, with
Yeah.
or without my understanding. I don't need to be able to understand to hug you and
Mm-hmm.
let you know it's okay.
So
It's
true.
okay, you
So.
know. And a lot of us haven't learned that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us have learned that no one understands us, no one gets it, no one's been through what we've been through, and you only feel like that because no one wants to talk about it.
That's deep. That's deep. Fam, how many of you felt like that until you really encountered this space? You know,
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting question because I think this is the space in which I felt most comfortable to express a lot of who I am in that way.
Yeah. And I think that's a very important thing to consider. You as an adult, how alone have you felt your whole life? And what kind of healing began when you found me? Not because I healed you, not because you had a session, but because you finally saw, like, oh, crikey, she's like me.
Right. Right.
Like, we see life the same. Like, oh my gosh, there's other people like me.
Oh, yes. Yes. That resonance is just I don't know. I don't even know a word to describe it. It's just beautiful. It's so beautiful and so powerful until it's something that I don't even have words to really express. It's something that's just felt like with the family you love, family of birth, you feel a certain resonance sometimes, right? Sometimes people don't. If it's a loving environment, loving people, yeah, you may feel that certain resonance. But people who are not in your birth family, your family's a birth, but your soul family, and even people who make you just feel comfortable to be who you are. It's just a beautiful type of resonance too.
And that's something that can be exploited, though.
Yes, it is. It is something that is often exploited. Glad you mentioned that.
Yeah. That's a lot of what the new children struggle through these days, is that
Yes.
they find these spaces that are not authentic spaces, where they feign this resonance with the
Yes.
person.
Yes.
The person is fake in their resonance.
Mm-hmm.
And the new child just doesn't know any better. They don't have enough experience
Yeah.
with the reality of what's going on right now.
Yep.
They haven't had anyone to kind of point these things out.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't know everything, but
Yeah.
I've been through enough to have
Yeah.
some idea of when someone is being malignant towards me, if
Indeed.
their um, intention is not pure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And sorry, because of my previous experiences, um, what I've learned is it's okay for me to be as intuitive for myself as I am for other people.
Thank you. Snip quo.
Hmm.
Snip quo. How did you say that? It is okay for me to be as intuitive for myself as I am intuitive for other people. I don't know how you said that, but that is a snip quote because somebody captured that.
Yeah,
Quick
no,
draw Lucy.
that's exactly what I said, though. It's okay for me to be as intuitive for myself as I am for other
Absolutely.
people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's such a beautiful thing to teach children the same thing, these new children, for them to understand the same thing about themselves. And if they can understand that early, I think that can be very beneficial.
Yeah. One of the things that I've done, um, one of my kids is a total mini me. I like attitude and everything. I just gotta laugh. That's the yes mother child, okay? Because that That's what I
Oh,
would say to my mom when I was mad at her. That's how I was like, oh, "What did I do?" You know? I would say, "Yes, mother."
mm-hmm.
So he's like
Your
he's
mother would give me slapped.
well,
And I have a sweet mom. I have a sweet Cancerian mom, but
yeah, I remember one time he, he's developing his abilities, which is fine. Um, I forgot where we were, and he was like, "I don't think we're safe here."
Mm,
And so I
mm,
was very serious. I was like, "Okay, what do you feel?" "I feel like we need to leave."
mm,
"Where do you feel it?" Um, Kind of like in the middle of my stomach and chest.
mm,
That's neutral. That's a space
mm,
of neutral. There's something there that we have to listen to, but there's also something we need to experience.
mm,
So, when you feel these things, do you see anything? Do you hear anything? What else do you notice? It's like, well, I don't know, but I think the area we're in, something's going to happen here. And I said to him, "All right, you and I are the same.
mhm,
I don't feel like we have to go. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying if I feel it too, that's extra message. So then we're definitely leaving. How about this? What if you're being shown something so far in advance
mhm,
because you're so sensitive that you're just being told what will happen here and we won't even be here anymore when it
mm,
happens?" He goes, "Okay." And then I told him, "If you still feel this way, it gets worse tonight, let me know, we're leaving. If it doesn't, okay, just sleep. We're fine. If we have to leave, I will feel it. We will leave.
mm,
And tomorrow, if you still feel it, we'll look through it again and we'll see, is there anything else we need to know? Do we really need to leave? Is this so we can avoid something?"
mm,
But I let him know, you and I, we are the same.
mhm, mhm,
I can feel you're really feeling something. I don't feel it yet. So maybe it's something so far advanced that I don't feel it yet. And if it's that far advanced, we're not in danger.
mhm.
And so it really helped him to process that instead of like, "Oh, no, it's nothing. You're just imagining." Like,
Uh-huh.
no, it's
Yeah.
valid. You
Yes.
are feeling something. I
Mhm,
don't feel it yet.
mhm,
I don't know if I will. If
mhm.
I do and I assess it, then I think both of us are being told to keep our family safe, right?
Right, right.
And it's just things like that where, we are the same. You are not less than me. You just don't have as much experience as me yet, but
Yeah.
you're learning and growing with everything you
Mhm,
experience,
mhm, mhm,
right? Another time, one of my kids, we like plants and stuff, right? We had bought two plum trees, and one of them looked like it died. It looked like it went to sleep. I was telling one of my kids, like, "Hey, do you think you can wake this up?" And he looks at it and he kind of touches the tree a little bit. There's no leaves, all the leaves fell off. He goes, "I don't think we can bring this back, mommy." And I was like, "Is it dead?" He goes, "Not yet, but it's very deeply asleep." And I said, "If it's not yet dead, you can wake it up." And he goes, "I don't think we can." I said, "I don't want to know what you think. Show me.
Oh,
Wake it up.
deep,
Tell it
deep,
to come up. Tell it to wake up. And then we'll give it some time. We'll keep watering it every day. You tell it, 'Tree, I need you to wake up.'"
deep.
It
Oh,
grew a brand new trunk.
oh my goodness. Talk about new child support. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
It grew a brand new trunk, like right beside the one that died.
Wow.
Yeah. And so when he saw it, he was like, "Oh, oh." It's just like, "Oh."
Oh, that's so important on so many levels. Even in the efficacy, right? That
Mhm.
sense of can do and understanding gifts and understanding mama don't think I'm crazy. You know what I'm saying? Mama is seeing this, she's experiencing this, and she's supporting me, she's helping me through this. And daddy too, daddy too. Let's not leave out the supportive fathers. We never want to leave out the supportive fathers or anybody, who's really helping these children. But I think that is so important. And how does something like that help in a child's development? Knowing that I'm heard, knowing that the people around me don't think I'm crazy, knowing that I have certain gifts that I can see tangible proof of. You know,
Yeah.
how is this? How does this play out in new child support
It's
and
probably
outcomes?
yeah, it's probably the most important part. It's probably the most important part to have someone outside of you that believes in you more than you disbelieve in yourself.
Mm,
Because
mm,
sometimes when you don't know and you have someone outside of you that does know and
mm,
they're so certain, even
mm.
if they don't understand,
Indeed.
it helps to negate that internal voice that tells you to
Yes,
disbelieve even more,
yes, yes,
right?
yes. Let me ask you this too, if that's okay. I
Mhm,
got a question as a parent, right?
mhm,
So, and as an observer and all of this stuff, right? But in instances where you know these children are gifted, right? You know these children are gifted, but you also know the temptation out there for
mhm.
gifts to be used in a way that's corrupt, right? And I would like to know these new, they are gifted. These new children are so gifted. Some of them know they're gifted, right?
Yep.
But they're still growing and they may not have the piece of wisdom yet. They may be growing in their character, integrity, and knowing to not use those, not misuse those gifts. How do we help them with that?
If a child feels like they are in a state of survival, they have
Mm,
every right to use those gifts to survive. You
mm,
will not negate that. You just
mm,
will not. You
mm,
will not override that. That is survival.
mhm,
So, how do you teach them to not misuse their powers?
mhm,
Never allow them to remain in a space completely alone where
mm,
they feel they have to survive alone,
mm. Deep,
right?
deep.
So, some people might take that as you have to force your child to confess everything, and it's like, no, when you're ready, let me know. I know
Mm,
something's bothering you. If you don't want to talk, it's okay. You don't have to.
mm,
You don't have to tell me right now, but just know that I'm waiting for you to feel comfortable enough to tell me what's wrong. I want to
mm,
know. I want to know what's happening. Like one of my kids clearly had been having nightmares. This was a while back in a different house we were in, and he's clearly having nightmares. I could tell.
mhm,
And every time I wake him up, I'm like, "Are you okay?" And he would cling to me, and I know something's wrong. He doesn't want to say anything. And I'm like, "Are you having bad dreams?" He doesn't want to say anything. Right. So, this other house that we were at, there was an entity in the home. And the entity was afraid of me. So, it would leave me alone, but it would basically stalk my children if I'm not in the room.
mm,
It wouldn't engage them,
And you
but
like,
it
oh,
would yeah,
mm,
it would watch, it would totally watch my kids, and all of my kids kind of felt it, and, one of my kids was having nightmares over it, and when we finally moved, um, like, months after, uh, this specific child of mine, he was like, "Yeah, like, remember when there was that man in the house, and he used to
mm,
scare me in my sleep?" And I said,
mm,
That was the nightmares?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Why are you embarrassed? It's not your problem, it's his
not at
problem."
all, not
He
at all.
had he had the problem. He's mean. He goes, "Yeah." And I said, "If you told me, I'd kick his butt." And
Mm.
he'd be like, his ass, "You
No,
should have told
mama,
me that.
no.
I'll whoop his booty."
Right.
And by then he was like, he was kind of laughing about it. And then, he let me know, like, he's glad we're not there anymore. But
Mhm.
I made sure to, like, really emphasize, you don't have to wait until we move. If you told me sooner, we would have moved sooner.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
have to stay like that.
yeah.
Okay. Let us know so we know how to help.
Yes.
That's the big thing, is that a lot of the things that we try and tell our kids, it's like, we always got you no matter what.
Yeah,
Whether, even if it's going to make us mad, let us be mad. We'll deal with it.
that's right.
You know,
That's right.
that's fine.
That's
We can have our whatever feelings, but you let us know.
right.
You need something, we got you.
That's right.
And then
That's
we talk when you get home, because, like, why you acting a fool doing, like,
right.
yeah,
But
as a parent.
knowing they have that support,
Yeah.
and I think that's so important. It's something because my parents may not have understood a lot of stuff about new children and all of this stuff too. But there's certain things that really stick out to me that I'm very grateful for. One thing my father would always say, he said, that girl got ESP. You know, he may not have the, but he would always say, that girl got ESP. That girl was here before. So there are little things like that help me. And I remember one experience, I was little. I wasn't scared of a lot when I was little, but I was little and this tree outside when it was dark, it would just do this certain thing. Yeah. And it scared me. And I never will forget, girl, my father tore that tree down with his bare hands. But it left something with me because how many parents would say, "Oh, you good? You know that's it's just a tree. Go back to sleep." He didn't do that. He didn't do that. And I always felt like, regardless, even if I kept a lot of my deepest inner world to myself spiritually and everything, I always knew that they had my back, you know. And I think that even this generation, you know, of parents raising children, the generations to come, we may not understand everything about the new children, but if they know that we love them, we have your back, even in the midst of things we don't understand, I think that that is so important. That's so important.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I hope most of you will take away from this podcast is it's not important for you to understand, it's important for you to accept your child,
Hmm. Beautiful.
you
Beautiful.
know? And it's okay for you to tell your child, verbalize, I don't understand what you're going through. I don't know what the answer is, but I'm here.
Yes.
I'm here.
So important.
We'll do this together,
Yes.
just that continued um like reminder after reminder after reminder, because sometimes kids need more reminders than we realize.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And
Yeah.
I want to ask you something else too, because we may not always understand, and it's so important that we let them know, hey, we try to make them feel just the way you just said. And I think that it's also important to know that there are resources that are available. I want to talk to you about that because you, as a new child when you were young, who didn't necessarily have that support, that new child support that we're talking about right now, but you in your profession right now are in a position to lend so much support through your services. What are some of these services that you have, and even products, because I think that you even have some in your soul shop that may help. But what are some of the services and products that you have to help new children? I want to ask that first because that's very important. And also, can you talk about some of the things that Soulwork Synergistics, the nonprofit, is doing with the launching of Sovereign Empowerment Initiative to have some of these programs and workshops to help support these new children and the parents and whoever, caretakers and people who care and love and want to stand in the gaps to help them. But I want to know about the services first because some things, there are some things that are on a deeper energetic level that need more attention. Even sometimes these children may be experiencing past life events, right? They may be experiencing trauma from past lives, and people may not know that, but they may have enough empathy for their child and enough know how to say, okay, you know what, I know something's going on, and I feel that it might be something that is not explained by popular culture. Well, how can you help?
So, first and foremost, I have lived through so much, from the mental health industry all the way through to the spiritual industry, the whole being wellness industry, natural living, veganism. Like, I've basically tried everything. And what I found is, do not impose or project your ideal life onto your children.
Mm, mm,
These children know what they need.
mm,
So, one of my kids, when he was a toddler for a large portion of his life, he chose to be vegan. He just he would not eat anything that was any type of animal product, and I did not differentiate between them. Okay, so he would not eat that. I would not force him to. One of several of my other children, they're legit carnivores,
mm,
just straight up carnivores. we'll try and encourage them to eat some veggies and they're reactive to it. So it's just like, you know what? But all of their labs and everything, perfectly healthy kids,
Mhm.
extremely intelligent. Children know what they need. If you introduce them to junk food because that's your comfort food and you want to hush your baby up, you have just altered the entire balance of their bodies.
Mm.
Okay. So let's be real here. Unless you're dealing with a newborn, chances are you've probably already given your child the snacks, the
Mm.
sweet things. So let's be realistic. You're going to have to slowly change that. You cannot punish your child because someone posted something somewhere that made you feel like an inferior parent.
Mm.
No, stop. Whatever you're going to do to your child, you have to first do to yourself,
Mm.
right? So, like, for example, for me, sometimes we'll go through these periods where, like, we're constantly eating out, we're constantly this, we're constantly that, all junk food. And then I'll be like, okay, you know what? We are so ridiculously unhealthy at this point. No, we cannot do this. I don't want my kids to be unhealthy. So, what I'll do, I'll change my diet.
Mhm.
I won't say anything to anyone. I'll change my diet, and then they're like, what are you eating?" "Oh, yeah, I'm feeling sick already from all the stuff that we're eating, so I kind of just need to, go back to the way it's supposed to eat. I feel all the inflammation and everything already."
Mm.
And then next thing you know, my kids are like, "Yeah, I don't really want to eat out either.
Mhm.
Can we just cook at home?
Mhm.
Like, I'm feeling swollen, and I don't know if they're really feeling swollen or if they're just kind of mimicking what I'm saying or what, but it teaches kind of like this self assessment.
Mhm.
Just because you've been doing something doesn't mean you have to commit to that if you know it's unhealthy for you,
Yes. Yes. That's.
right? You can change your mind at any time. You
Mhm.
can change your mind to be unhealthy, just like you can change your mind to return back to health.
Mhm.
So that's one of the things that a lot of people need to take into consideration.
Mhm.
A lot of our parenting really comes from how we want to try and appease the people who judge us.
Mhm.
They will judge you for your parenting. They will judge you for your lifestyle. They will judge you for um, how many rolls of toilet paper you keep in the bathroom, like whatever they can think of. They're going to judge you. So be aware if your decisions for your child comes from ego, right? Insecurities, things like that. And no, you don't have to tell anyone like, "Oh my God, I have to confess it's from ego."
Mhm.
You just have to reach a point of self awareness.
Mm.
Another thing that the children really, really need is for you to understand that they need to be a part of the decision making.
Mm.
Okay. You have the ultimate say, obviously, right? But they do need to be at least some part of the decision making if it's going to affect them.
Mhm. That's true.
For example, when it was time to move again, because sometimes my kids be like, "Ugh, we got to move again." It's a chore. It's a chore because we don't move 5 miles away. We
Mhm.
usually move no less than 1,000. And, like the last time we moved, they're like, "Oh, we got to move again." And you know what? I told them, "Listen, I'm already stressed out as it is. I understand you guys don't want to move, but you need to understand this house is not suitable for us. you know um, it doesn't get cool enough. We need to be in a very temperature controlled space. Myself and your little brother feel sick, and if we're going to stay here another summer, we're probably going to be hospitalized. We barely made it through that summer."
Yeah.
And they're like, "You're right." I said, "I know. I'm just as tired of moving as you guys.
Mhm.
This is not something I enjoy. This is something that's necessary. So daddy and I have made a decision, and it would be nice if we can get your compliance with minimal complaints. I'm going
Mm.
to try and be patient and understand, but just know my level of stress is already very high. So my level of patience is now going to be very low, lower than what you're used to.
Mhm.
So just keep that in mind." And so, it's like you would hear these little, and it's like, okay, that's it. You're pissed off too. I'm pissed off. You're pissed off. There's no point in me attacking you and being like, "What did you say?" It's like we both pissed off, mofo. We both pissed off. Like ain't nobody happy about this. But then see, here's the thing. As soon as we moved to the new place after all of that, They're like, "Oh, thank you, mommy. This was the best decision. The AC feels so good." I'm like, "Mm-hmm, mm-hmm," you know? And so they know we
Mhm.
we don't make decisions that don't take their needs into
Yeah,
consideration.
yeah.
And yes, we do acknowledge that you were not allowed to be a part of this. This is more of a grown-up type decision,
Mhm,
and it has to be age appropriate. Like your language has to be age appropriate, right? It has to be.
mhm.
You can express yourself, you can be mad, but you have to do it in an age appropriate manner. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter if you hear mommy dropping F bombs all day.
Okay.
Are you in your 40s? No. Do you pay your for your car bill and all of that? No. Okay. So age appropriate, okay? And that's one of the things, like, my kids know they can express themselves, right? But it has to be age appropriate. You
Mhm.
can try and trick one of my kids to say a bad word. You can go to my youngest and be like, "Hey, what does this spell?" And he'll be like, "Mm-mm, uh-mm." And it's just like maybe the word stupid or something, right? It's like,
Mm,
"Mm-mm,
that's
that's not
good.
appropriate."
Yeah.
He'll tell you. And
Mhm.
that's the thing, my kids know I hold you to the standard that's appropriate for you. It's never clear cut across the board.
Mhm.
I hold you to the standard for you.
Mhm.
One of my other kids, he's always extremely helpful, very jovial. When he gets mad, which is very rare, it's kind of like, where did that rage come
Mhm.
from? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Just
Yeah. And
saying.
it's this thing of, he'll end up usually getting all the chores put on his shoulders because he won't complain.
Mhm.
And then I'll be like, no, everybody get up, turn off
Oh.
the TV, everybody up. You're the
Mhm.
only one I want sitting down. No,
Mhm.
if they have no problem seeing you working, you need to sit down and let them take over.
Mhm.
And everyone else will be mad at me. I don't care. I'm the mom.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
And that's the thing. They know, even if you can't speak up for yourself, I will speak up for you. You
Yeah,
don't have to ask me.
yeah.
If I see you're being wrong, I will speak up for you,
Yes.
you
It's
know? And
important.
that's what the kids need.
That's important. Yes.
They
Yes.
definitely need that. Do you mind if we take some questions real quick?
No, I would love it. And remember, guys, after the party is after party.
I love how you said
So
it one
there's
more
the
time.
exclusive chat because it's not too late. Like it's an ongoing opportunity if you'd like to become a recurring contributor. That space is available to you. There are other options. There's even what do you have this morning? You had a dark matter clearing, is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
There are different tiers. You have the crystal healing, is it? All
Yeah.
right.
There's a whole bunch of different options that they can choose from. And I totally forgot to mention,
Mhm.
um, before we get to the questions, you did ask like the different services, right? I went off on a tangent.
Yes.
I offered various types of self and soul services. They're basically like life and spiritual coaching. And with that, I do take payment plans for that. But that's us having one on one time and really focusing on your needs,
Mhm.
right? What do we need to see? What do we need to kind of address and find solutions for? It has less to do with energy work and more to do with you and your existence within your life,
Mhm.
the different boundaries that you have to stay within, the connections that you have. Those are very, very profound sessions that I hold. It's called Self and Soul.
Self and
Um,
soul.
yeah. And then in addition to that, we are getting quite a few different speakers to help us with various programs that are part of the Sovereign Empowerment Initiative, the SEI initiative on Soulwork Synergistics. That's the ministry portion.
Mhm.
And what we do there, we're going to have people sharing their stories and the solutions that help them to get past the struggle, to get them through these different things that they've been through. um, just a whole bunch of really really amazing opportunities to connect with people who are having very similar struggles to you.
Mhm.
And it's a way to really experience a healthy, balanced community in a much deeper manner.
Yeah.
And you guys, it's really important that whenever you support Soulwork Synergistics
Mhm.
by either doing the recurring contribution on the soulsanctuary.love or sending a donation directly to Soulwork Synergistics, or purchasing something from the Soulwork Synergistics website, you are supporting these programs that we are going to be doing completely for free.
Yeah.
Okay. So just to be clear, thank you for this, Lindsay. I do not own the Soul Sanctuary Love. That is an auxiliary of Soulwork Synergistics, the nonprofit. So just so you guys are aware, every single time you choose to be part of the recurring contribution for the Soul Sanctuary Love, that goes directly to Soulwork Synergistic. It is an auxiliary of Soulwork Synergistic and not an asset of Emmy Evolving. Okay. It's not a sister company or anything like that. It's part of the ministry. So let's get started with the questions. Sky says, up to what age is considered the new children? There's really no limit. Jesus was a new child. He was very, very rare in his time, but he was also one of the new children. He came in as a crystal, and that kind of planted the seed for the indigos to later come, far later, but that's what planted the seed. Can we be parents of new children and be one ourselves? Absolutely. You can also be a parent of a new child and not be a new child.
Mhm.
You can also be a new child and be a parent of a regular child. You can be a parent of one regular child and one new child, or three new children, one regular child, or three regular children and one new child. There's no like specifics and limits. It really depends on the type of Paladorian contracts you sign.
We're going to have a show about Paladorian contracts because people want to know and it keeps coming up.
A. Lorene says, I've learned to take similar approach with my youngest son, trying to help him process the influx of emotions so that he may express them. He is basically being written off as having anger issues.
Mm,
Yeah. I'm glad you're helping him. I'm really, really glad.
yeah.
And one of the things that I think is a fallacy, how some therapy techniques is like get a pillow and teach your child to hit the pillow. You're still teaching them to solve their emotions through physical acts of
Mhm.
violence.
Mhm.
That's
Yep.
what you're still teaching
Well,
them.
ain't gonna be enough at some point. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I do, because I'm a very intense emotion person, and my kids can be as well. Exhale that out. There is no point in you holding all of that anger in. If you're mad, let yourself be mad. Don't be mad to the point where you can't control your fists or whatever. Breathe it out. Exhale it. Breathe it out, pissed off. I don't care. Breathe it out. Stop breathing shallow. And eventually, if you exhale everything, you're going to have to fully inhale. If you fully inhale, you're pissed off, you're going to fully exhale. And now you're intentionally breathing, right?
Mm,
And so it's not this thing of you have to stop the emotion. It's this thing of you have to get in control of how the emotion is causing you to react.
mm,
And that's what I try and teach other people's children. Like, you're not wrong or bad for feeling what you feel. Something happened to make you feel this way.
mhm.
But why are you allowing that to be something that is controlling you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like letting them know and see, like, you can shift this. There are
Mhm.
things you can do. And
Yes.
I feel like a disclaimer is appropriate. I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a specialist of child development or anything like that. I'm a stay at home
Either.
mom. I'm a stay at home mom. I learn from my babies. Okay. Ooh, this right here. I isolate myself for about 1 year. It was the hardest year of my life and had major anxiety, but it was much needed just so I can be
Mm,
mind and body.
deep.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why that thing of like, if my kids don't want to talk, I let them know. You have to, at the very least, give me the respect to tell me I don't want to talk right now. Okay. I'll leave you alone. When you're ready, you can come talk to me. It can be a few days, it can be a few hours, whatever. And as I've done that over the years, um, my children now, like, I'll see they're pissed off. They want to be left alone. I'm like, all right, let me know if you need something. That's all I'll say. And then later, after they've processed their feelings, they'll come back and like, Yeah, so and so just made me mad, or my video game made me mad. You feel better now? Yeah. When we hug and then it's done. Just really allowing them to feel the emotions, to give themselves permission. If you don't give yourself permission to feel the emotion, what happens to it? It doesn't go away, it gets shoved down.
Hmm.
When you give yourself permission to feel the emotion, you are in control. You're cognitive of that control. And if you know you're in control, you can then temper that emotion into something else. Like, okay, let me just breathe. I remember one time one of my kids got so mad. He was breathing like, and his siblings were like, he's breathing crazy. Let him breathe. He's
Okay.
not yelling.
Let baby breathe.
Just let him breathe. He's mad. He mad,
Yeah,
mad.
you big mad.
And he was. And then after a few minutes, he kind of calmed himself down. He
Mhm,
didn't break anything. That's one thing I cannot stand.
mhm.
When people think like they can punch walls and destroy property because they mad,
Right. Are you gonna pay for it? That's
right?
what I want. First of all, you gonna pay for it.
Because girl, I'm
Second
gonna
of all,
charge you
now.
tax by spanking your booty.
Okay.
My bottom is the tax. Like we don't play that mess.
Mhm.
You know? So yeah, no, definitely allowing yourself to have the time and the space to process what needs to be processed. Oftentimes that's painful. Can we say that bullying of new children has increased and is lethal?
Mhm.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
think that we as human beings need to begin holding the parents accountable for not correcting and teaching inappropriate behavior solutions, whatever. Like they need to be held responsible for their children's behavior in school.
I agree, Emmy. And at the same time, I want to say this too, because this is also very real. A lot of times they're doing what they were taught. They didn't have anybody to really teach them.
Right.
And the cycle continues until something comes along to let them know there's a better way. I'm not making excuses because it's not okay. But I'm just saying, like a lot of times, you see these babies having babies, and I'm not talking about prepared babies. I'm not talking about just because they're young. I'm talking about completely unprepared, right?
Yeah.
Completely unprepared. And then they're just kind of the children kind of raising themselves. They're not teenagers. They're little children that are literally basically raising themselves,
Yeah.
like even cooking themselves noodles, like every night. Parents, mama may be gone, whatever, and there's just a continuation. That's why I say I do think that there's not to compare to say one is worse. I'm just saying I really do believe in my observation, and there's some situations that are unique to certain populations that really need to be. It's time for us to talk about these things and
Yeah.
to really try to offer some support to these communities too, because it's really happening. Yeah.
I feel like one possible solution is part of the way we hold the parent responsible for the child's behavior.
Mhm.
Because again, it's a generational type thing oftentimes,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
um, Instead of punishing and just fining them, what they need to do is take a mandated maybe 40-hour program on anger management,
Mhm.
on early childhood development,
Yeah,
all of these things that they need to know, and then be able to once they finish that 40-hour program, be the next layer of it and be teaching other parents who are going through it.
I agree. I agree. And another dimension of this, I don't think this is really talked about enough, especially in these popular, circles, but the indiscriminate diagnoses that students are being given by people who are not even licensed to diagnose, but it's basically happening like in a different way. It's happening, and these children are just being slapped on Ritalin. And then you have these people, they're growing up and then they're having children, and the cycle continues, right?
Yeah.
So they started with Ritalin, then they take other stuff. And a lot of them never should have been put on Ritalin in the first place. But you have the situation where, hey, we need them to be sitting down in the schools, in the schools, whatever. And it's just the whole cluster, what the cockadoodle do. That's what a lot of times what we're seeing.
Yeah. Um, oops, ow. this question right here, there's quite a few other questions, but this right here. So the question is, how can we teach our children to cope?
Mm,
For me personally, and all I can share with you is what I've done personally, is that I'm not teaching my children to cope. I'm teaching my children to find solutions so they don't have to cope.
mm,
Yeah, because we need to go from this receiving to this co-creating, active cognitive co-creation state.
mm.
We can no longer allow the psychopaths of the world and their progeny to be the ones to dictate to us the way we live,
Yeah,
you know? So my children know, you don't like that situation, say something. If they can't receive what you said, cut it out.
yeah,
That's it. You don't
yeah.
have to play with them. You don't have to this. You don't have to that. For example, where we just moved to, it's one of my kids' birthdays, right? And the neighbor's child is around the age of my children, my youngest. And he wanted to come over for my son's birthday because we had a little blow up pool and they were going to have a water fight in the backyard. And so he was watching all the way from his yard, like over the fence. I didn't know he was already stalking my kids in our backyard. He
Oh,
done tricked me, came over to the front door, me and my love for children. Oh, he wanted to play with my kids. Totally volunteered them, did not know.
mhm.
And he helped himself to the backyard once he asked his parents. He went around to the backyard, he let himself in, and he, I guess, had picked up one of the water guns. And my kids know your face is your identity, don't mess with nobody's face. You're going to shoot someone's chest, leg, whatever. If they tell you to stop, you stop. Autonomy, sovereignty, that's the rules here. And this kid starts shooting birthday boy in the face with a water gun, and he said stop, and he didn't stop. And then he starts shooting my mini me in the face. Baby boo, that's not the one. That's not the one. You picked the wrong one, baby boo. Next thing you know, and I'm in the kitchen. I did not know any of this was going on. I'm in the kitchen making snacks. And next thing you know, all of my kids come upstairs. Uh, because there's a walkout basement, and all the kids come upstairs. They're all like scrambling to come in. They don't want to be anywhere near this boy. And then my mini me, I guess he tried to shoot birthday boy again. And my mini me was like, "You stupid kid. You need to go home," or something like that. It's like, oh my God, get in the house. We just moved here. And it's this thing of like, you don't have to cope with that.
That's
Because as
right.
soon as the parents heard, like I could tell by their reaction, their child has self-regulation struggles. I'm not going to demonize a child. It's a child,
Mhm.
but based on the parents' reactions, clearly
They
that
know.
child has self-regulation problems.
Mhm.
And no, not again did I ever even ask my children if they want to ask him to come over or any of that
Good.
at all. Just like, no, you don't have to cope with that.
Mhm.
But I let them know, like, he probably has self-regulation problems. And I'm sure he's not a bad kid. He just wanted to play with you guys, but unfortunately, he's not getting the support that he needs to learn what he needs to learn to figure out how to regulate himself. Maybe his
Yeah.
parents are trying, maybe they're not. I don't know, but that's not for us to solve or heal or any of that.
Mhm.
And so that's the thing, is that we need to get out of this space of simply teaching our children how to cope. They shouldn't have to cope. But
Mhm.
yes, there are still things that are happening in the world that we can definitely, see why
Mhm.
there's a need to learn how to cope. It's hard. It's definitely hard. Do you guys want me to do a mother and child class, a parent and child class? I can do that. I can do like a little workshop. I
Mm.
my schedule is crazy until December, but we'll figure it out. I mean, one of these days we'll figure it out.
And some
Um,
people are asking you. It's not like you're coming on the scene like, "Hey, I am the Dundada."
yeah,
As a parent, whatever. People are asking, and I know people ask privately. People ask a lot, so it's not the first time people have asked. I mean, even on live chats, I've seen this. So there's definitely not only the desire, but also the need, and that's one
yeah,
thing I'm so grateful for. Soulwork Synergistics, fam. If you still don't know, please check out the website Soulwork Synergistics. The organization was founded by Emmy. It's a nonprofit organization, and some great things are happening. A lot of the things that we're talking about, we're not just talking about these things. We are listening, we're assessing the needs, and we are trying our best to do what we need to do to provide support for people. The vision is to help create a better, more equitable world. And the mission, oh my gosh, Emmy, before we go, I would like to know because I'll get too passionate about soul work synergistics. I'm so grateful and passionate and helpful and just hopeful and just appreciative. But I want to ask you first, how can people get in touch with you? And next, what is it that you have to say about soul work synergistics before we go, whenever that is? And one thing you would like for us to take with us with regard to the new children and the ways in which we can support them.
So, first, you guys can reach me by emailing me contact@emmyevolving.com. That's quite possibly the most efficient way to get a hold of me. If you're on Facebook, you can message my business page, Emmie Evolving. It's not a good idea to message my personal page because that's a cluster fluff of a messenger. And I pretty much don't open anything unless I've known you for years and years and years. And I happen to see your message come in right as it comes in, it will get buried and I will not know you messaged. So that's how you can reach me, either through email or my business page. Soulwork Synergistics is something that I have dreamt of for a very long time. Very, very, very long time. You can find video footage of me from 2016, 2017, just really, really talking about this. And it's been more than just having a soul sanctuary, this place for us to grow our food and come together as a village, as an eco village, self sustaining, all of that. There's always been this component that was a major part of it, and that was advocacy for the new children by helping us help their parents learn how to best deal with some of the most common struggles that the new children often will come across. A lot of learning how to advocate for them. Did you know that new children are oftentimes extremely intelligent, and because they score too high on an IQ test, a standardized IQ test, you will not receive the type of support you need? It took a specialist to tell me that. Yeah. Uh, she told me with tears in her eyes, she's like, "I'm sorry, your son is too smart." And I didn't understand. And she's like, she had to explain. She said, it's the same thing as having a child that's that far from the average IQ, but on the opposite end of the spectrum, a traditionally disabled child. But you won't get the support the traditionally disabled child will receive. Both ends of the spectrum need that support,
We
but your
do.
end won't receive it. And I
Yes.
was like, but why? And she goes, your child is too smart. As a matter of fact, people will punish him. Yeah. Yeah. So it's this thing of, my own life experience showing me how important it is to really, really, really be able, just be able to be the parent you want to be and need to be for your child. Whatever's happened in the past, yes, you are still held accountable for it, but honey, that's in the past. Okay. Until you know better, you cannot do better. And if
Yeah.
you're trying to know better, you cannot continue to punish yourself for mistakes, misunderstandings from the past. There are still some things where it weighs heavily on me, decisions I've made as a parent. And every so often, I will just randomly tell my kids, like, if you guys remember anything that I've said that's mean or hurt your feelings in the past, I am very sorry. And I remember one time one of my kids was like, "Why do you always say that, mom?" Like, why do you always say that? Every like few months you say that. Well, because you have a very long memory, son.
Mm.
Whatever I don't remember, I don't want you to think like it was okay. No, it was not okay. Whatever I was going through, yes, I might have been going through something, but I want to validate that you deserve better than what I was able to provide then.
Mm.
You know,
Wow.
and it's hard. It's
Mhm.
really, really hard to be um as honest as you need to be when you ask for help,
Mm.
right? Because it's this thing of, if I tell them, like, for example, um, we spanked for, I don't know, like 6 months or a year, because I allowed people outside of the family, uh, our little family, to convince me that my children were out of control and disrespectful because they have their own minds. They
Mm.
don't speak disrespectful, but the fact that they vocalize, their displeasure at something, they were seen as disrespectful. And I'm like, they're not yelling at you, they're not cussing at you, they're just like, oh, I don't want to do that right now, just telling you.
Mhm.
And so we began spanking for about a year, maybe 6 months to a year, I don't remember, but like that weighs heavily on me.
Mm.
Like, mm-mm. One of my kids, I think he was I think he was 3 when he told me, because I would spank them, and then we would have a calm down period, and then I would ask them, why did mommy spank you? He said, because you lost control
Mm.
and you didn't know how to handle your feelings.
Wow. Mm. Wow.
And he said it very softly, like he felt badly for me.
Wow. Wow.
That was the end of spanking. It doesn't teach them anything. Timeout does not teach them anything. It teaches them that unless you do as I tell you to do, unless you behave in the way I dictate, you are not good enough to be in my presence. Go away.
Mm.
And then we wonder why we have these issues of being alone,
Mm.
right? So we don't do timeout. We don't do spanking. We don't do grounding, because being with your family at home is not punishment. That is a treat. That is an honor. And it's a space of love. So, what do we do as discipline? The origins of the word discipline is to teach. We teach. Discipline has nothing to do with corporal punishment,
Mm.
it's to teach. Now, that's not to say that, you know, there might be a situation where spanking might be appropriate for my family or for your family. It's not for me to decide that.
Mhm.
But, I do know, like one of my kids, sometimes if he gets too riled up, too caught up in these intense emotions, like I will have to tell him in a very harsh manner, I am about to spank you.
Mhm.
Unless you tell me if you need a hug to help calm down or not, you are just wilding out. And I am about to spank you and I don't want to.
Mhm.
And then he'll nod his head, or he'll say yes, meaning
Wow.
he wants a hug. And okay, I'll give him a hug, and then he can begin releasing that. It's because
Mm.
he's trying to hold on to that emotion and stuff it down, and everything in his body is like, no, this does not belong inside us.
Mm. Deep.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll shake and he'll try and control, and it's like, honey, that needs to come out. And if you're not going to allow me permission to hold you so you can let it out more peacefully, then I don't know. I don't know if you need the jolt of being, physically struck in the butt or whatever. I don't want to do that. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Mhm.
But that's definitely a thing that it's hard. It's hard because we don't know how to parent,
Mhm.
but we're expected to be the perfect parent by
Mhm.
people who don't know how to parent either.
Mhm.
People who don't know your child.
Mhm.
These are who we're listening to. Yeah. One of my kids started reading at 17 months old. He was at college level anatomy by the time he was, I want to say, 2 years old.
Wow.
Anatomy and physiology. He was at college level. And his pediatrician, we went for a well check, and he was reading all of the different graphics for parents. And he was reading all the proper terms properly. And he wanted her to tell him about dust mites and the effects on your lungs when you have asthma.
Mhm.
He was about 2 years old. And her advice, professional medical advice as his pediatrician, I have to stop teaching him because he'll be bored in preschool.
They try to do that. Mm-mm.
So, yeah, went through a homeschooling program, and one of my kids is extremely bashful, like very, very bashful, right when he was a toddler. And it was, I think he was in first grade. And part of that homeschooling program, they have to audit the children, meaning these very basic skills. They have to be able to witness the child doing that rather than just taking the parent's word for it. They have to witness it so they could log it all into their charts and everything. And he would not read in front of people. And I'm like, I promise you, he is an avid reader. He's very good at reading.
Mhm.
He doesn't want to do it in front of you. And so we got lucky because we were paired with a teacher who was very considerate of that, right? And I told her, if I can record him without his knowledge reading for me, would that be okay? And she said yes. And so I recorded him reading the passage that she wanted him to read. And mind you, he's like in first grade, right? She's like, oh my goodness, he's reading at sixth grade level. I'm like, I wasn't lying. He just doesn't want to read in front of you. You're pressuring him,
Mhm.
you know? And did you guys know that the standardized tests in school do nothing for your child? You know how I found this out? My child challenged it.
Mm.
He didn't want to do standardized testing. And I was like, you need to. He goes, why? What do they do with the results? And I was like, I don't know. I don't freaking know. So he asked his teacher, what do you do with the results of my standardized test? Well, we use it for funding. So then what does it do for funding? I don't want to take the test. I was like, I'm sorry, ma'am, my kid's not taking it.
Mhm. Mhm.
It doesn't do anything. I feel, and this is just my personal opinion, I feel like all it does is try and catalog your child's personality.
Mhm.
I don't feel like there's any benefit to it aside from um, complying,
Yeah.
just for the sake of complying. I mean, I don't see what the benefit is,
Yeah.
and
Serves to
these,
put them in a box a lot of times, just like you said, compliance and also the ties to funding. And it puts a lot of pressure on the teachers and administrators, and sometimes they have even cheated. There have been scandals with all this pressure with standardized testing, and it really does not allow for a teacher to try to even understand the student's strengths. Even as a whole, the collective strengths of the students, it really, I think it does more harm than good, to be honest.
no, I absolutely feel that as well. I absolutely feel that it does so much more harm than any type of positive anything, because they even take time out of the curriculum to prepare the kids for the test. So how
Mhm.
accurate is a test anyways?
Yeah, a lot of the teaching is centered around standardized testing. It's not really teaching; it's memorizing to pass these tests, so they can have the standards for the funding that's needed.
Yeah. Did you guys know that in pretty much every state, there are programs that are home based online virtual academies? You are still assigned a teacher, and your tax dollars pay for these programs. They will provide you the computer if you are income eligible. They will reimburse you for internet service if you are income eligible. They will provide you the manipulatives, the course content, from the books that need to be read to the workbooks to the paper to the crayons to everything.
Mm.
And you have access to the teacher and accredited school programs. Okay, these are accredited. And
Mhm.
on top of that, if you're worried about socialization, new children are fully capable of developing social skills with non age mates. They
Mm.
actually are far more advanced than their age mates.
Mm.
When my oldest son was still a toddler, everyone's like, oh my gosh, he doesn't play with kids. I'm like, what's he going to relate to with kids?
Mhm.
He's
Yeah.
over here talking about programs and all sorts of different stuff and college level content. What's he going to talk about with kids? He doesn't watch cartoons.
Mhm.
He doesn't watch any of that. We don't allow any of that. And I mean, he's super social. He
Mhm.
knows how to socialize.
Mhm.
And it's this thing of we've been programmed to believe that our children will not know how to socialize unless they're with other children their age. Do you know what other children their age do to them? Because the other children know they're different,
Mm-hmm.
right? I had to teach my son, you do not tear anyone down just because you know you're smarter. I had to teach him that because he had to defend himself in that way where he's learning to tear other kids. No, 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 no. You're not going to be an ugly mirror of ugly behavior. Nope.
Yeah.
No. And these are things that they learn. My oldest son, he'll talk to me sometimes about how he sees the programs that are being run with the children now. And he's like, Mom, they're programming the kids. Like, look at this. Look at what they're talking about in these shows and this and that. And this is
Mm.
a kid
Oh,
show.
yes.
Hmm. Yeah, all of that. All of that. We have to be very mindful of what we allow because guess what? They keep us so busy and so tired and so stressed out that we can't actually fully pay attention to what they're doing to our kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the problem.
So true.
That's the problem. Not that you're a bad parent, but that this is being done to you in order to do it to your child,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
That's not okay. And I've heard of various schools that are hiding information from the parents, like a child has just um, renamed themselves. They've just identified as something else. You're in first grade.
Thank you.
You should not be having that type of authority.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's just, and I'm not saying that those struggles are not real because they are real. What I'm saying is we're being manipulated and absolutely pushed out of our children's lives,
Mm-hmm.
where
Mm-hmm.
your child can give consent to things at an age that they're not old enough to buy cigarettes, but
Yeah.
they can consent to that?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so.
Mm-hmm. And they don't even understand it. The children don't even understand they're being encouraged. These struggles, a lot of times, are also being encouraged. Oh, you feel this way.
Yeah.
Girl,
Yeah.
exclusive chat, I guess.
Yes. Let's talk about exclusive chat. Let me just go through these real quick. My daughter used to get overstimulated in crowds. When we addressed how we felt and talked about our senses, she could feel herself more and more and less of everyone else and stabilizes herself now. That's huge, Billy. A lot of kids don't realize how empathic they are and how they pull in other people's energies and emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Many children of today cannot cope. Yeah, but we did address that one earlier. The difficult part of parenting is others' expectations of your children are not important. You have to raise and encourage children to be themselves and learn how to adapt to their style of learning. Absolutely. 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 Let's see. Is it normal for the new children to know who not to be around, i.e., running off from them, hiding from them, not talking in front of them, or not want to go somewhere because they know who will be there? Yes. As a matter of fact, that is red flag behavior. Very, very red flag behavior. Not to scare you, Billy, but I hope that your child has never been alone with that person, even for short periods. Encourage your child. If this is just a general question, perfect. If it's specifically about your child, that's red flag behavior. Okay, sometimes that can be indicative of the child having experienced maltreatment at the hands of that person without the parent's knowledge. So be careful about that. If it's someone that they've never been alone with, and new children have an amazing just BS detector. I
Mm-hmm.
remember my youngest was like a little toddler when we were at this woman's house. We were assisting her with something, and this woman was like very sweet to everyone. And she kept just sweating my littlest about, can I have a hug? And he would just, no, like just very cut and dry.
Yeah.
No. She would ask, can I have a hug later? No, and he's very cuddly, very loving, but he kept saying no to her. And we found out later on her true character. I'm so glad I never asked her to babysit. I never,
Mm.
ever left her alone with my kids. I'm very particular about who's around my children.
Yes.
You know, I have people that I've known for years who have never met my children. And it's got to be that way. I don't
Mhm.
post pictures of my children on the internet ever, ever. If you see pictures of me with children, that's probably not my baby.
Okay.
That's probably some random person's baby. Just like, oh, look how cute. Let's take a selfie. No. I don't post pictures of my family online.
Yeah.
I don't post details of my family. Um, you know, whatever it is
Mhm.
that is sacred to you, you have to treat it as such.
Yeah.
You cannot leave it out for display for everyone, right?
Mhm.
Uh okay, let's see. Hold on. Um I asked myself, where is her focus, and question it, is it healthy? Oh, you mean for your process? That would be good. I feel like that's a good thing to do. And then there was, ooh, it's every year at her school. Ooh, that's a huge, that it makes me feel very uncomfortable. Very, very, very uncomfortable. Billy, I wonder if part of what you do, the way you start, is to create a homeschooling co-op.
Mm.
Um, it's not hard to teach children. It's hard to teach children in the way that you think school is meant to be.
Mm.
That's what's hard. When we do schoolwork, where it's not, you are not going to be sitting down with worksheets and this and that. No.
Mm.
When we do schoolwork, you pick a topic, aside from obviously the state mandated basics that they need to know, age or grade level that they need to be at. And you get to pick all your electives, and you watch informational, like very sterile informational videos on these subjects. And then you talk to us in depth about it. This morning, but Jesus, goodness gracious, my ear fell off regarding carbon dioxide
Wow.
during breakfast. Carbon dioxide.
Mhm.
That's our fixation for the
Yeah.
next few days.
Yeah.
Carbon dioxide, acid rain,
Wow.
yes, air pollution and all kind of stuff. Like, okay. I love it.
Yeah.
We've moved on from black holes.
Yeah.
We're
Oh.
now at carbon monoxide. No, dioxide. Yeah, he was telling me the difference about that as well.
Okay.
Monoxide is one carbon molecule. Dioxide is two. One is
Okay.
one, that is
Love it.
yes. He's
Love it.
got it. Yeah. So you guys, we got to head on over to our exclusive chat. If you want to join us there, definitely join in. Go to soulsanctuary.love. It's still time for you to join in if you want. All of our live streams over there, our chats, they are recorded. You can come in later and watch them. Obviously, it's best if you join us while we're live so we can interact and do our thing. But definitely, we're heading over there. If you are part of the Soul Sanctuary Love already, give me maybe a minute or two just to launch that for us, and I'll see you guys over there. Ocean, is there anything that you want to say? Any last things?
I just want to say that for those of you who don't know about those chats, just how me and Emmy are on the screen right now, that's how those chats are. Like, not just me and Emmy, like, you
Everybody.
can get on the screen and we're actually able to see each other, interact with each other. If you don't want to get on the screen, show your face, you don't have to. But if you still want to come and talk, you can come and talk. You can have your camera off. It's a beautiful space. We love it. I want
Yes.
to say thank you all. Thank you very much, Emmy, for being here. And, thank you for having me. Thank you also, fam, for having me too. Appreciate
All
it.
righty. Thank you for coming with me every week. This was a difficult topic, but we got through it.
Yes, yes, we did. We did.
All right. We're going to get going. We hope to see you guys again next week. I'll see all of you tomorrow, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here for church. Bye, everyone.